Welcome to Beyond Marketing, the podcast. I'm Maira Genovese. I'm the founder and CEO of Imaging Power, an integrated market agency. Today, we're joined by incredible and inspiring women working at the intersection of PR, brand, storytelling, and culture relevance. Someone who has built her career around empowering women through honest conversation and community. With over 10 years of experience in PR, Georgia Dayton is the co-founder of Made by Mamas, a platform and a podcast that's been running for over 8 years and has become a trusted, no-judgment space for women navigating motherhood, identity, and career. In this episode, we're going to go beyond marketing, as usual, to explore her journey, the purpose behind her work, and what has modern leadership looks like when it's shaped by real life. So welcome to Beyond Marketing, the podcast. Did I pronounce your name, your surname correctly?
Yeah.
I'm always struggling with my Brazilian accent.
I like it how you say it, actually. It sounds boring when I say dated.
Thank you so much for being here today. So what a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you. We've met by accident, but I don't believe in accident, maybe by purpose.
Yeah.
At the lunch was last year we went to that.
It was last year. It was wet and rainy, so it must have been the winter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we just have like a very nice conversation and here we are.
It's always good when you sit next to someone that you can have a proper conversation with at lunch.
Exactly. So Georgia, again, thank you so much. I think what really for me was very exciting to have you here is just when I start listening to your podcast and following you on Instagram, I kind of related a lot with you. And I think that's all about you being relatable, especially with women that it's a mother, but also has a career. And then I was fascinated by your journey and how you have shifted from corporate to a podcast and still continue to be that inspiring woman that is still, have the success with the podcast, but also being a great mom. So talk about your journey, how that shift worked and why it changed and what was the purpose of your incredible Made to Mamas podcast.
Yeah, so I started working in PR when I was about 19. So I was really young and I just loved all of the glamour. I used to host the Evian Suite at Wimbledon.
Wow.
I loved all of that side of things. And I always, I really enjoyed work, but I just sort of ticked along, how it is, sort of moving up, moving around, doing various different bits and pieces. And then when I fell pregnant, I was only 26.
Wow,
so
young.
I was quite young and I definitely wasn't really established in my career. I've been, working for maybe 6-7 years, but, I didn't really know where I would go from where I was then. I was just enjoying all of the exciting parts of working in PR. And my husband used to play football. So we used to move around a lot, which was really fun. But when I fell pregnant, he moved to the countryside, so the Cotswolds. And I realised that my whole identity was working in beauty and fashion and all of this. And then it was taken away from me. And I thought, oh gosh, who am I now? Because I always had my job to talk about. People were always interested, oh, wow, you get to go to this party. Oh, wow, you get to go to Fashion Week. You're trying these products. And then suddenly I'm at a baby group and I'm like, oh, I just went to the gym this morning and I put the baby in the creche and just realised I just didn't have
your own personality
me anymore. And I happened, again, hopefully not by chance, and it was on purpose, I met Zoe, who's my co-host on Made by Mamas, and she also had a similar, background. She actually worked in radio and TV, and her identity was very much in her job. So when she had to move to the Cotswolds as well, we both felt exactly the same. And we both felt like there wasn't really a space online at that time, this is 10 years ago, where you could talk about wanting to be a really good mum without it being boring or mumsy or considered bad for your career. And also say, but I still want to be really successful. So we were always having these conversations, and then the podcast sort of came about from that. And we just started having chats just about how we felt, real life, and it's evolved over the years. And now we have a recruitment company for parents. I still do lots of PR consulting, work with lots of brands, and it all has that same real honest, authentic feel, because we find from the podcast that, a lot of parents especially don't need the glossy. They need the reality.
The reality,
Yeah.
the vulnerability, right, of being a
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah.
But then the Made by Mamas, like you were like talking to Zoe, and then you start. How did you start? Because normally podcasts, you just start really raw, right? With
Yeah.
probably, I don't know if you guys had a big production
Yeah.
straight away or not. So how was the first episode, and how did actually motivated you guys to, okay, this is actually working, and this might be our purpose here, to inspire and to empower other women, especially the parents one, that they can do both, they can be both. So how that mentality and understanding and purpose came to fruition when it starts?
Well, we first started with an Instagram page, and we were talking and sharing, and just, 10 years ago, where you're just snapping pictures.
Because at that time, podcast was
no,
not a big thing
yeah,
at all.
no. And then there are a few people who had podcasts. So I think Anna Williamson had a parenting podcast.
Okay.
And Zoe was a guest on that podcast.
All right.
And she came away and she said, we should do that. Like, we're good together. We have really good chats. All we need to do is record what we talk about, interview people. We've both got really good contacts. And even then, podcasts just weren't a thing. They were just a hobby, really. But because of our contacts, we had sort of an agreement with a production company.
Okay.
So we would work on a contra deal. So we didn't have to pay them for their time.
That's amazing.
I know, which would never happen
Yes.
now. We just went in and recorded. So at first we recorded 10 in a series, and then we released them throughout, every week or whatever. But we soon realized that the difference between talking on Instagram and is very visual, it's visual. People still then liked posed pictures and all that kind of stuff. Whereas actually being in someone's ear, being in their ears, being with them, it's almost like you're talking to a friend. And so we found that our listeners were really engaged with what we were talking about, and because there wasn't a lot of that around.
No.
So
talk about what, 8-10 years ago?
Yeah, so we almost became friends of theirs, because we would be with them when they were at their most vulnerable times, walking with the buggy or on their first commute back to work after having a baby. We were there in their ears. And we soon realised, number one, the responsibility that brings.
100%.
Yeah, but also how needed it was, because it's private, it's a private conversation. You're in somebody's ear, you're speaking directly to them, especially when it's things, around motherhood and identity and, all of these topics that we cover. We realised that we could get the message through, direct.
It's how you start your community, right? Because I think that, especially that niche about motherhood, and we talk again about 8-10 years ago, there were not many people who were talking about that. And then motherhood, that's kind of like my experience being a mother, has always been like a taboo to talk about it. Like, people don't feel comfortable to talk about, because we talk about motherhood, but not that deep or on that side of our vulnerability, how our struggles, because there's a lot of struggles of becoming a mother, especially if you're working before become a mother.
Yeah.
And then how to, again, as you said at the beginning, how to find yourself again through that new responsibility. And then people tend to not talk about it. They only talk
Yeah.
about the good things about being a mother. And I remember, like, when I had Antonio, my son, no one told me about what is next
Yeah.
after the baby is born. And then the lack of sleep, the loneliness, the not being able even to have a shower because, it's just you have to
Yeah.
choose, or I have a shower, or I have a nap, or I eat.
Yeah.
So which one do I choose?
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my mom, like, why? No one ever told me that. Why they're just told me the beauty and the pretty things about becoming a mother. And I think that's the beauty of you guys start doing from the beginning. Talk the honest reality, right?
Yeah, and I hope as well that we are. I think we when we first started, it was very glossy motherhood online. Everyone was posting pictures of all three of their kids asleep in a line, wearing matching outfits, and we'd think, what? Then we got into a real messy motherhood stage where everyone was talking about how hard it was and all of this. And now I hope we've got to a balance where
Yes.
we are comfortable enough to show the really good stuff and that you're not showing off, and the hard stuff. And also when it comes to having conversations about being a mum, especially in the workplace, it's not seen as like a negative, because I think there have been connotations around the word mum, mumsy. Oh, I'm not just a mum, especially in the corporate world. And we really hope that we're empowering women now to be honest. When they've not slept, or that they've got to get back for the nativity, or that they've got, and it to be okay. Rather than seen as choosing between home life and career.
And how did you find yourself in that position of, okay, so now I got the podcast, I'm talking about it, but how you're applying what you're talking and what you're doing on your own life
What, in terms of work?
in terms of work and being a mother?
Yeah, so when I had my son, who is coming up to 10, I went back to work full time. I think a year later. So I had a good year off, and then I went back in full time and thought that would be okay, and quickly realized that it wasn't okay and it didn't really work. But I don't know why, but I always had that confidence that if I wanted to leave because I needed to get back for something, I would just say it. And I think that you have to lead by example in that,
100%.
when it comes to things like that, because I was young. I was only 27, so I
Super
had
young.
people who were around me, a lot older than me, maybe more senior than me, who didn't have children, didn't understand that, I had other responsibilities now as well. And I just looked at people, who were junior to me in the team, looking up to me as a mum.
And an inspiration.
And I thought, I can't pretend, I can't be a swan at work. I can't pretend everything is fine. And then secretly, I'm swimming away underneath. I need to be honest. And so, yeah, from day one, really, I was really honest. And I was honest with, people that I worked with, that it is difficult. And I wasn't going to come back and just be exactly how I was before. And it was going to take a little bit of time, because I didn't want those people who hadn't had kids yet to think, oh, it's fine, you just drop back in and, you're absolutely yourself. I really wanted to lead by example when it came to motherhood.
And then leading by example is how you now, with the podcast, you become with this incredible empowerment platform, because there's a big community that follows you guys. How do, in terms of now your responsibility, because then you said that you felt responsible when you went back to work, on being honest about, that was not easy to go back to work and to become a mother. But then you managed to do that. But now you went to a different scale where the podcast, you have a huge community. So how do you find that? Because it's a huge responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility. And I think sometimes people in this space, like influencer space and podcasters and, just, influencers and creators out there, don't realise how much of a responsibility that we do hold. And definitely when it comes to motherhood, that we really have to practice what we preach, you know.
That's a very good
We
point.
really do. And Zoe and I are both really transparent when it comes to how we juggle work and home life and, you know, career, and how difficult it can be, and that the conversations that you have are not always comfortable. Especially, I think, if you're employed. I think if you're an
Right.
employee, it's really difficult. And I'm honest, like, you know, I work for myself. I am, and I talk about that, and I say, listen, I know I'm privileged in that I can, you know, go to the nativity, and I can go to the sports day, and I can go to the doctor's appointments because I don't have anyone to answer to. I still have to have uncomfortable conversations with clients and producers and all of that, definitely. But I do understand that it's not as hard as if you are, as if you're an employee. Like my husband, for example, he works in the corporate world now, in a very male dominated environment.
Yes.
And although he's not, you know, on the podcast or, you know, involved at all, I say to him, you have to be vocal. Like, you have to be somebody who is practicing what I preach.
Yeah, 100%, because you're my husband.
Yeah, because you're my husband. And if, you know, we're trying to create the change and show people that you can have both, and, you know, it's not always going to be easy, but we have to be, like, actually out there doing it.
And is he doing it?
He actually is. Yeah, I mean, he's quite lucky that he's got quite a few females around him at work who definitely understand. And yeah, I mean, I make sure that he has to go and pick up from gymnastics, and he says it as he leaves, you know, gets up and says, sorry guys, I'm off. I'm going to collect from gymnastics, or I'm not missing football tonight. I want to watch, or whatever it is.
That is good.
And it's not a negative, because that's the thing. You don't.
This is lead by example.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people assume that when you become a parent, you like give away a little bit of your ambition or your, you know, drive to succeed. But actually, I don't know about you, but I became way more ambitious when I became a
more
mom.
ambition, because it's not just more about me.
Yeah.
It's about the family that I am building with
Yeah.
my husband, and now having a kid.
Exactly.
It's the sense of responsibility. For me, it became higher, but also the drive to make it happen and to become inspiration for him
Exactly.
at the same time. Because, you know, I've worked a lot, and then when Antonio was about a year is when I started my own business, because before I was employed. And then starting a new business, I thought that we'll have much more balance of life. But then when I realized that was actually the opposite, because I was the only one at that time trying to set up a business, and there was no option. I had to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that required a lot of my time and juggling between being a mother, but also starting a new business. And I was traveling a lot. And then today, Antonio is 11 years old, but I can see that everything I have done in the beginning when he was little did not impact on him. And actually today he looked at me with so much, you know, he's proud, but also he's inspired. And I love that his mentality now of daddy and mom has to work. So both. It's not just a man that needs to provide. And then I can sometimes hear a conversation with friends say, no, my mom and my dad, they both work, and they've been working. So it is good to start changing that mindset. That, oh, when a woman become a mother, she needs to stop working, and then the man that has to provide.
Yeah, I don't know what your upbringing was like, but I always had in the back of my mind, my mum wasn't a career woman. Like, she wasn't at all. Like, she worked a little bit, but not till I went to secondary school. She was always there. I've got a great relationship with her.
Yes.
And I always had that in the back of my mind. And I always had a slight bit of guilt that I wasn't doing that how she did. But now, like you said, you know, Axel's 10. It's cool, you know, it's cool.
It's cool.
Like, it's
They're
really
fine.
cool.
They're happy.
Yeah.
And do you think, like, with your platform, do you have that responsibility on using your voice and your experience to say to parents that it's possible to do both?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And we really try to be transparent with how hard it is, and that being a business owner or, working for yourself isn't always the answer. Because I think, like you say,
Yeah.
people think, oh, it'd be much easier to work for myself because then I'm my own
Oh
boss.
my
It doesn't,
gosh.
it's not.
It's not, guys. It's
It's
not, but it's
really not.
possible,
It
but
is
it's not.
possible, but
It's
it's not
not.
the easy way out.
No.
And I think we are seeing a shift in like lots of businesses really seeing the benefit of employing parents, and like all of this stuff where you've got like fractional CMOs, and then they're just coming in for a couple of days, and there is a movement,
Yes.
100%, because you can get people who have got like that lived experience, and just because they've got caring responsibilities, it doesn't mean they're
It
not going to be
doesn't
good
mean,
at their jobs.
just especially like when we talk about big corporation and big
Mm.
companies, and I've been that before, it's when a woman becomes pregnant, they immediately invalidate it,
Yeah.
which is really sad. Invalidate in the sense, oh, she will come back, but she's never going to be the same. She's never going to be able to give the 100% that she's giving.
Yeah.
So immediately it's just like, okay, it's coming back, but that's it.
Yeah.
So it's just not going to, it's not going to be the one that will give the opportunity to
Yeah.
actually to grow, which is still happens
It
at this
does.
day.
We did a podcast, It Always Stayed With Me, a few years ago, and it was all around like careers and people sort of sharing what had happened. And there was one listener who wrote in, and she said that her boss had sort of cottoned onto the fact that she might want to get pregnant at some point, and he used to get her to do a vodka shot
Ah,
every day
are you
when
just
she came
kidding me?
into work. Yes. This was only a few years ago. This wasn't 20 years ago, 30 years ago. This is still happening now, because he wanted to check that she wasn't pregnant.
Oh my God.
I know. And the worst thing is you hear those stories so much still. So we do think
I'm
we're
shocked.
making a big shift, but stuff like that is still happening. And I think that's why we really need to change and talk about parents, mums with ambition, and that we are still really ambitious to change that narrative.
No, 100%. And then and I think it's like as for you, like for me as being a business owner, starting my business when my son was literally born, it's when I had the idea.
Yeah.
Some of my employees, they see that I'm a mother, but also I'm a business owner, and then I have to do a lot of leadership around the team around me, traveling a lot. And I love that sometimes there's like employees of mine that they come to me and say, I'm looking to have a baby. Do you think I will be able to continue to work here and having the baby? Because you have such an inspiration. But I wanted to make sure that if I do, if it will be okay for you. And I was just like, oh my God, it's like, I love the fact that they come to me, and then I love to empower them to just go for it. It's just
Yeah.
like, go for it. So I have one that is pregnant now, and then throughout the whole process, we've been very close. And now she's pregnant, and I'm so excited for her. And just go have the baby. Take the time that you need, and when you're
Yeah.
coming back, you're going to continue to grow as you're growing right now. And then your role is always going to be here, and nothing is going to change in terms of career progression. And I think that's the narrative of what we need to change.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are lots of stay-at-home mums who are really happy as well, and that's
Yeah,
what they want to do,
exactly.
and that is absolutely totally fine. But I think they're really, we just need to change the negative connotations that come with
Yeah.
being a working mum.
And I think you're right. So there are women that they want to have a
Yeah.
baby, and then that's it. They wanted to stay home. They wanted to be,
Yeah.
and it is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But I think the ones that wanted to continue to to be successful in their career,
Yeah.
is that one we needed to be honest about it,
Yeah.
but at the same time empowering them. And I think you guys are doing this brilliant. Tell me more about the recruitment company that
Yeah.
you guys create. This was on the back of the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like Zoe and I, neither of us have recruitment background at all, and we still are not recruiting people. We've got people who do that for us, but we were just having these chats, like I said, on the podcast, and we quite often get stories from the listeners, and we realised how huge a topic career is when people become a parent, like whether it's because they get made redundant or they're worried that their employers won't understand or whatever it is. And so we were asked, I think it was a startup baby brand. They were looking for a CMO. And obviously I've worked in PR marketing for years and I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to find someone. But they really wanted them to be a mother or a father because it was for a baby brand. So they were like, we really need them to understand like the reality. So, we put them together and that was great. Then it happened again, this time for a beauty brand. And someone said, you really should charge for that service because
you're recruiting.
It's the recruiting. Yes. You're sort of connecting people. And so that's sort of how it started. And it was all very ad hoc at first. It would just be a brand that we might be working with. And, we would be brought in to talk about how to empower mums in the workplace. And then we'd say the service that we offered and we'd sort of do it like that. And then MBM Careers were sort of born on, we have employed mums who have recruitment backgrounds and they do the recruiting now.
That's
we
incredible.
match our sort of database of candidates with employers who we know treat people well and treat them.
That's very important.
And treat them like people, because I think there's lots of noise about flexibility in the workplace, but actually flexibility is flexible. It's not, 8 till 4 or 4 days a week. It's different for everybody. So all the employers that we work with, they have a different there's a different meaning behind flexibility. So for some of them, it's like, we still need the person to work full time. We still want them in the office enough. But listen, we're human beings and we understand, there's a level of understanding that if you need to work from home, sometimes you do. And if you need to leave at 3 o'clock on occasions, you do. And that's the flexible working.
Yeah.
And then we've got other businesses that we work with who say, you set your hours and you work around your kids. And that's their level of flexibility. So the recruitment company is a real tailored approach to recruitment. And a lot of the businesses that we work with are so pleased with the candidates because
that's amazing.
They're people that otherwise would maybe not be in the workplace anymore. They're people who maybe had really big careers that they couldn't go back to, but they are getting that level of experience in a person for a couple of days a week or, remote working or just whatever it is. So it is working and it's allowing like mums to have an option that they can go back to work.
And how do you select the business that you wanted to work with? Or do they approach you guys or you do a bit of both?
Yeah, a bit of both. It started off businesses that we knew.
Okay.
So that we knew the CEOs, we knew that, we knew the MDs so that if they were good people and they got it, we'd kind of be all right. Now it's a bit of both. People come to us, but we do a bit of this, like a... what do you call
diligence?
it? Yeah, a bit of and sort of work out what the sort of culture is. And I know you don't know a culture until you're there.
Yeah, there, 100%.
And people can make fancy presentations around culture, but it's always actually what's going on
in the business.
Yeah, but yeah, we do try to speak to other people who work there, get a general feeling for how the business is run.
And in general, do you think that it's when you look around business wise, like especially with the companies that you're working with, do you think is that a chance that we are kind of changing a little bit the mindset of business owners or big corporations around working moms?
Definitely. And I think there are policies being put in place in finance businesses and insurance companies, but I don't know if it's trickled down just yet. It is happening, but from where we are, it's mainly retailers, marketing companies, those sorts of businesses at the moment, and we're hoping to see a shift.
Do you guys do workshopping, like companies to kind of educate them?
Yes, we haven't been in the past. We've done like a few bits and pieces, but it is something we're going to focus on now for sure.
If you have to tell one challenge of yours, of, being a mother, but also, being a successful in your career, what will be the 3 challenges that you would say that you have faced yourself?
Wearing different hats, going from, work mode straight into mum mode with no separation.
Also,
I think that's the most difficult thing for me. It's like your mind never quite switches off.
and in the middle being a wife as well, right?
Yeah. What
So
would you say?
Because my husband's always say that. So you always say that's the difficult between work and and Antonio. But what about me? I'm like, oh.
Maybe that's the challenge.
Because yes, because it's the challenging of changing hats, 100%. But at the same time, I don't know how you feel about the people that's working with you. I've tried always to lead everything with a smile, even if they wanted to smile, but not just because I wanted to be fake. It's just because I think it's important to, even throughout my challenge, that my smile is still there and be grateful for the good and for the bad and for the challenge. And then, but at the same time, be very vulnerable when something is happening. Like my son had to do he had
Appendicitis.
appendicitis when he was 6 years old. And then there was like a busy week for me traveling. So I had to stop everything, of course, because I have to be with him. So, and then when I went to those big challenges of being a mother, and so how to stop everything and say, now the hat I'm going to wear is just going to be the only hat for the time being, is being a mother, and then be completely disconnected to that and trust that they will do the job, because now this is the hat that I have to wear. Because it's like shifting hats, but understand when you
that's
only
so true.
have to wear only one hat for that period. And that will be okay. That doesn't mean you're letting go. But for now, that's my focus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think as well, in terms of like wearing different hats, you're in chapters, aren't you? Because you might have a part of the year where it is just work.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's fine. And that's what you've got to do. But then you have, when it changes, you can just wear the other hat.
And then when you can, you do both.
Yeah.
But which is normally, right? It is the norm.
It's the norm, exactly.
It's the normal. What would say, like, what's your purpose? Like, what do you wanted to gain for, like, now? Because I know you're back on your PR consultancy, and then it's beauty and fashion.
Yeah, it was. Now I do quite a lot of like parenting brands and stuff as well.
Amazing.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yes.
I think like in terms of purpose, it's really, for me, around community building, storytelling. I think in this world where AI and all of that is coming in, for everything that I do, it's even more important to have the real human connection, whether that be for brands that I work with, in building communities, in having that relationship between consumer and brands, having the right storytellers telling their story. It's that, whether it's on the podcast, it's real stories, doing live events, meeting people. It's the real life.
It's the real life.
Yeah.
Do you think AI, it's because I love that you mentioned about AI. So do you think AI will change how you guys connect with parents, or do you think it's going to help you, or you're seeing this as more an opportunity to bring the, as you said, the human connection even more?
Yeah, I think it's so difficult, isn't it? Because there's so much scaremongering around, jobs not being there anymore because of AI, all of that kind of stuff. And anyone that I speak to wants to use AI as a tool. So like we'll have, it's great for when you're doing a podcast and you need to do some research. You can get your research done quicker and all of that kind of stuff. But how we connect with parents, the whole thing is authenticity. It's like real connection, whether that be online or in real life. And I think with AI, we're only going to see people wanting human connection more, because that's will be what stands out.
I agree. And then for you, what do you, when I talk about responsibility, because of the community you guys build, what is the message that, if you could give an advice for women that are trying to get pregnant but is still with the fear of, would I be able to go back to continue my career, or for mothers that are now had the babies but are struggling on understanding when is it the right time for me to go back, or with the fear that they're never going to go back to the workspace, what will be your three pieces of advice?
I think number one, you can have it all, but not at the same time. So you can definitely have your career, you can definitely have your kids, you can definitely have a social life, you can definitely be into your wellness, but probably not all at the same time. So there's always going to be a point where you have to give up one thing, of one piece of the pie slightly. So I think that is always good to have in your mind, that don't set that unrealistic goal that you're still going to have every single part,
Yeah.
because I don't think that that's possible. Number two, that it will always work out, because it has to. I think that's
True.
always in absolutely everything I do. If I'm worried about something, I just have to tell myself it will always work out, because there is no other option. So there we go. And number three, I just think if you're worrying about juggling a career and motherhood, that already tells me that you're a good mum because you care,
Yeah.
and that you're somewhere in your career, and that you've got ambition because, again,
Yeah.
you care. If you wasn't worried about it, then
Then
it wouldn't be a question, and it wouldn't be anything. So I think, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, no, 100%. And I agree totally with you on the number one,
Yeah.
because you can never be 100%, because I just really don't want people to think that I am 100% in everything I
Yeah.
do.
No.
As much as I tried, and I put a lot of pressure on me in the past that I had to be 100% in everything.
Yeah.
But one day I had to realize that it's impossible
Yeah.
to be 100%. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just need you're gonna have to give a little bit in that and there, and that it's okay, because in the end everything is
Yeah.
going to be fine.
It will be fine.
It will
Yeah.
be fine.
Exactly.
George, thank you so
Thank
much for being
you.
here. You're like such an inspiration, and I really hope that you continue that journey on empowering women to show them that it is possible, and using your platform to put together this incredible community. Since we've met, I became a big fan of her show,
Oh,
and I'm
good.
so happy that you're here today. So thank you so, so much.
No, thank you. It's been great.
And thank you so much for everyone that has been here today listening us. And I hope you got inspired by the incredible Georgia. And if you're not following their podcast and their channels, we're going to put it down here. Make sure you do. And also, please, if you're not following Beyond Marketing, the podcast, we are on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. And now we have our own channels on Instagram, Beyond Marketing Podcast, LinkedIn. So make sure you follow all the news there on new guests and new episodes. So thank you again, George, for being here. And thank you, everyone who has been tuning in. So I see you guys on our next episode.